Hi, good morning everyone. Let's get started with the next topic, which is GRC Access Control 10 Segregation of Duties Review. So, we'll see the key features of segregation of duties review in Access Control 10.0. These features are: number one is decentralized review of segregation of duties violation, reaffirmation of mitigation control assignments, workflow requests for access request and approval, audit trail and reports for supporting internal and external audits. Okay, and the key benefit for SOD review is a streamlined internal control process with collaboration among business manager, internal control, and information technology teams. Okay, so let's explore this high level process for SOD review is as under. So first step is the SOD background jobs generate SOD review requests. Okay, so there are background jobs which runs and which generates the SOD review requests. So once we have the review request, so the system sends email notification to reviewers. Okay, so take note that first step is once you have connected the systems to the GRC, the system that we are going to monitor for risk. So those systems will be connected and there will be background jobs which is running and they will generate the security review requests. So once that review requests are generated for SOD, the GRC system will send the email notification automatically to reviewers once you have defined the workflow. The reviewers will review the request and do one of the following, that is, they either reject the request items, they mitigate function risk by assigning controls, they remove access for items that violate your company policies. Okay, so we will see this in detail in the demo, but before that, so there are following process options are involved. One is admin review. In admin review, what happens is that you have the option to enable an admin review which provides administrators an opportunity to validate request data after requests are generated by SOD review data job. Okay, so if any reviewer information is incorrect or missing, administrators can modify that data prior to generating workflow tasks and notification. Okay, reviewer stage is you can specify whether the reviewer stage is addressed by a user's manager or by the role owner. Then you have a security stage. You can choose to include a security stage if required. Okay, so now understanding workflow stage configuration. So there are following things which is in place from the workflow perspective. Email notification, that is, emails are sent to the reviewers. Reminders, okay, you need to decide whether you want to set the reminders. And escalations. Okay, so let's look at the following roles. So we have seen administrator role, reviewer role, user manager's role, risk owner role, and coordinator role. So these are the different roles which is available. So administrator performs SOD review specific administrator tasks such as performing an admin review before generating a workflow for the request. Reviewers are approvers at the reviewer stage. Reviewers can be users manager also or the risk owner. Users manager is the direct manager for the particular user who is trying to send the request. Okay, risk owner is the process owner. Okay, then coordinators are users assigned to one or more reviewers. Coordinators, they monitor the SOD process and coordinate activities to ensure that the process is completed in a timely manner. Okay, so let's look into the system. Let's straight away get into the system. Okay, so we will go to the configuration aspect first. So we will see how we can set up the SOD review and then generate data for the review as a step one. Okay, so what we'll do is we will go to SAP reference IMG. So the entire GRC configuration happens from here. Okay, so here you can see that this is a tab for governance, risk and compliance. So all the configuration work happens from this place, which is okay. If I expand this, you can see general settings, shared master data setting, reporting component, common component setting. So here you have access control, process control, risk management. Okay, so for SOD what we will do is, so we will go to GRC tab, we will go to access control because we are doing SOD related configuration, then we'll go to maintain configuration settings. Okay, so if you click here, it will give you the documentation of what you are trying to do. Okay, how to do that. So if you just click here, it will give you a document of this particular step. So it will describe what can be done, how you can do. Okay, so it's telling about the parameter ID, parameter. Okay, so let's continue. So let's click on maintain configuration settings. Okay, so here you can see that these are the different parameter groups, parameter ID and parameter values are defined, priority is there and description. So for doing SOD review, we need to select, we need to enable basically the offline risk analysis to yes. Okay, so we will see the offline risk analysis, enable offline risk analysis. This is the one. Okay, so this is the parameter is set to yes, parameter ID, and this is the group. Okay, if you click here, you will see the rest of the groups which is available here. Okay, as an information that you have these many groups which is available: workflow, emergency access management, UR review, performance, access request, role management, risk terminator. Okay, access request, default roles, role mapping, SOD review. So this is the one that we will be getting into. Okay, so here on this tab you can see that you don't have anything for SOD review. So if you want to create a new one, you can click on new and we can click on say SOD review tab. Okay, so for SOD review, once you are in SOD review, so this is the parameter group that we need to select and we need to click on this parameter ID. Okay, and we are interested in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 19 and 23. Basically request type for SOD, default priority, reviewers, admin viewers, and is actual removal of risk required or not. Okay, so we need to select one by one all of them. Okay, so under SOD review, so what we are working on is we are working on the configuration for SOD. So before we can generate the SOD, we need to do some configuration work. Okay, so once this is defined, parameter value, so request type for SOD. For each request type, we need to select what is the value. So we have selected the group, we have selected the ID. Now we are going to select the value for it. Okay, so value, go with this value. Okay, now here same thing. So basically we have these values. Okay, Now let's go to the next one. So we need to select all of this for SOD. So these are the ones which can be selected for SOD. 16, 2018, okay, and here is risk owner. Next we can again select the SOD review here, 2019, okay, and here the parameter value is yes or no. So this is admin review, required before sending tasks to reviewers. Okay, then is 23 for SOD review. So just click on this and we can set it to 2023. Okay, let's select the value for this. We have yes and no. So is actual removal of role required? So let's select no, it's not required. So let's select no, because we don't want to explicitly remove because we are in the initial stages. So once the configuration is done, you can make a call so that you are not adding the roles which are not required. Okay, so this is step 1, that is we are doing the configuration. Okay, so let's save this configuration. Okay, so a transport request will be created. Create a request. Okay, so we are creating a request, that is SOD configuration. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so this is the transport that we are creating here. Okay, so let's save this. So this is a transport is created. So you can see that it's like a normal SAP system where any change which is tracked here and which gets tracked in the transport request. Okay, so now if you see, this is a question mark which is coming here. It changed that all changes that were made in memory are returned to the disk database. Okay, so the SOD configuration part is done. Now we will see if we need to add the coordinators for requests. Okay, so we will see how we can add the coordinators. Let's go to the access management. Okay, so we need to go to the access management. Okay, and under access management we need to go for compliance certifications review. Okay, compliance certifications review, and click on manage coordinators. So you will get the screen for managed coordinators, and under managed coordinators we will see which are the existing coordinators and which one we want to add. We can change the mapping. Okay, we can assign a new coordinator. So basically we will have a mapping about coordinator ID and the reviewer ID. Okay, so if nothing is described, we can create one. Okay, so here you can see that how do we create a coordinator. So here we can create a coordinator, here we can delete a coordinator. So we will create one coordinator and we will establish the mapping between coordinator and reviewer. Okay, so that is the next step that we are going to perform. So here you will enter the coordinator ID and here the reviewer ID. Okay, so next we'll define the SLAs and the escalation path. Okay, so for defining the escalations and service level agreement, we need to go to this same place and we need to go under user provisioning. If I click on user provisioning, okay, so click on the maintain service levels. Okay, so maintain service level agreement. Okay, so here we have maintain service level agreement. We'll click on this. Okay, so now you can see that we are in maintain service level agreement, and we can create a new service level agreement. Okay, so nothing is defined here. We can create a new one over here, and we can define it, say SLA type, we can say by fixed by date. Okay, we can give the description. So the description that we are going to give is SAP underscore GRAC underscore SOD risk review. Okay, and process ID, SLA, date. Okay, so let's save this, enter the SLA date. So we need to specify the date. Okay, so let's save this. Here you can see that it is again asking for the transport request. Let's select as yes. So this change is also saved. Now what we have done is we have created one entry here. Okay, if we go to this structure, okay, so let's go back. Let's click on maintain service level agreements. Okay, here you can see that I have just one entry, GRAC SOD risk review. So next thing is generating the data for requests. So for generating the data for request, what we need to do is we need to go to the background scheduler, okay, and schedule the job. So how do we go there? So let's go to this tab. You can see under access management. Okay, under access management, look for scheduling. That is where we schedule and display background jobs. So here you can see this is the scheduling tab, background scheduler. So this scheduler is used for scheduling and displaying the background jobs. Okay, so the reason why we are creating the background jobs is you can see that different background jobs are there. Roles in actions, actions in role. Okay, so this basically it is generating reports in background. So we can create a new one or we can run the existing jobs. So let's create the new jobs over here. So we can create a new job. So once the job completes, okay, so that is the time the workflow will be triggered. So we can schedule a new job. So let's see how do we schedule a new request. Okay, so you can see it is still running, so let it take some time, and we are going to create a new tab here. So let me close this. Let's click on scheduler again. Now let's click on create. So instead of opening an existing one, let's click on a new one, and we are going to schedule a new activity, and we are going to run the background job to generate data for access request SOD review. Okay, so we can run it immediately as well. So this will trigger the workflow as we discussed, and once the workflow is triggered, okay, so what you will get is you will get the couple of things. Basically there are three things which happens. It will send out the email to the reviewer, it will set up the reminders, okay, and it will set up the approvals. So that's what is happening here. Okay, so we'll create a schedule. So this is the schedule that we are going to create to generate data for access request SOD review, and we'll run the job immediately. Okay, on the next screen we need to select the variant. Okay, here you can see that I have selected the variant as connector ID. So that is the variant we need to select so that it gets connected to this system and runs the report in that particular system. Okay, so you can see once the job is completed, you will see the status as completed. Okay, so now the next thing is we will get into the requester review. So let's go back to this particular interface. Okay, so let's go to this SPRO tab. Okay, in SPRO tab we can go to compliance certification review. So let's go to the compliance certification review. So let's come here and let's close this. Okay, let's go to access management, compliance certification review. Okay, so under access management, look for compliance certification review. This is what it is, and under that look for request review. So on the request review screens, we can search for the SOD request by selecting the SOD risk review workflow and then review the data to confirm the reviewers and coordinators information. Okay, this is an intermediate step where all the requests come for the administrator to work on them prior to being generated. Okay, so that's what happens in the request review tab. Okay, so let me show you how this looks like. Request review. Here you can see that you are requesting a review, the administrator is requesting the review. You have manage rejections and manage coordinators as well here. Okay, so once we click here, it will show me the screen of different SOD reviews which is taken place. Okay, and after that let's look at the workflow scheduler again. Okay, because just to make sure that the scheduler runs and the workflow is triggered. So update workflow job, this step is only required if you have enabled the admin review. So if it is not enabled, you will not see it here. Okay, so then we can go to the next step, which is SOD. So here you can see that this is the tab where you can search for the request, and once you find the request you can run the workflow job. Okay, so you can open the workflow job and you can trigger once the job is completed, it will automatically trigger it. But let's go to the workflow configuration to see how the workflow configuration is done. Okay, so let's go to the workflow configuration. To go to the workflow configuration, we can again go to IMG tab. We are in IMG, and under IMG is access control. Okay, we are in access control, workflow for access. Okay, so this is the workflow for access control, and under that maintain MSMP workflows. Okay, so if you don't know what it is, so we can just click on this tab to get more information about multi-stage, multi-path process workflows. So you can have multi-stages, multi-paths defined here. Okay, so let's click on maintain MSMP workflows. Okay, so here we can, okay, so let's ignore this. It is to do with the version of Internet Explorer. Okay, so here we can select the respective access request and trigger the workflow. Okay, so let's see this one. So this is the last step in the configuration of SOD process. So let's give it some time to complete. Okay, so here you can see that this is MSMP workflow configuration. This is the request that we had created, which is SAP_GRAC_access request, and you can see that this is the first step in this process. The next step is process global settings, maintain rules, maintain agents, variables and template, maintain path, maintain multi-route mapping, generate versions. So if we can either modify this, okay, or we can just go to the next step. Okay, so for now let's click on, if say for example I want to change something, I can just click on this and click on change. Okay, so this is where I can enable the escalation. Okay, I can just click on notification setting, that what notification I require. Okay, so once this is done, we can go to the next step, which is maintain rules. Escalation date is required. Okay, so for now let's don't put this escalation, because it will start sending this escalation emails. Okay, so now we are into this tab, which is maintain rules. So in this screen you can maintain rules for your request. You can configure function module rules, BRF rules, plus rules, ABAP classified rules, and BRF plus flat rules. So this is where you specify. Okay, so you can select, this is your process initiator. Okay, notification type. Okay, so and in the rule type we can change it to the different rule type if we want. Okay, so if we click on modify, here you can see that agents rule, initiator, process initiator, notification is defined here. Okay, so let's go to the rules. Can be initiator rule, routing rules. If I click here, okay, so here you can see that initiator role, firefighter access, approval, look account request, okay, new account request. So these are the different types of rule types that is available. Okay, instead of creating a new one, let's click on next. Basically this is the workflow that is there. Okay, so you have maintain agents. Agent types is we will use APIs. Okay, now this is where the variables and templates are defined. Okay, so this is where those approved by first name, last name, link. Okay, so that's what can be done here. maintain path. So this is the different stages of approvals which takes place. Your stage 1 is GRAC manager stage, role owner stage, and security stage. Okay, so then these are basically the maintain stages. Okay, next is maintain path. Okay, from path ID to. Okay, so maintain mapping. Here you can create a mapping, and once it is done you can activate it. Okay, so this is how we create the configuration for SOD workflow. Okay, so once the configuration is created, what we need to do is we can straight away go and look under my home work inbox for the mails. So the manager will be getting the mails under my home, and under inbox he will get all those mails. Workflow mails will be coming here in the my inbox tab. Okay, so he can pick up the mail and he can start working on it. So he can just come here, click here, and start working on the next steps, whether he can approve. It's up to him whether he want to approve or reject that particular request. So that will give. So that is basically how we can do the SOD stuff here. Okay, so here you can see that I don't have any mails because I have not yet activated that workflow. We can go back here and activate this workflow. Okay, so this is the workflow that we had created, and if we just click on save and activate, if we want we can simulate it here. So this will start triggering the workflow emails. Okay, so this is what I wanted to cover in the SOD configuration section. Thank you for joining and have a nice day. Bye bye.